All right, hello Flight Sim community. This is Beast rocking around on the ground here at Tango November Tango. It's the Dade County training area. We're going to go over to 07 Foxtrot Alpha. It's like 50 miles away. Might have been a little bit less than that. But it's really close. So we're talking like a 15-minute flight to get over there. I'm going to go ahead and press enter, load that one up. Nav 1. It's behind us, 141 degrees, what it's saying. So right around there, we'll probably hit it on the downwind leg. Meanwhile, let's get going. Leaving out the same way we came in. It's early morning here in Florida. I'm looking so forward to finishing this. And what I'm really not looking forward to, the amount of time it's going to take to load all of these up. I've got most of them all saved at this point. But good Lord, it's going to take me a minute to get things fully finished up, edited. Granted, these don't have a ton of editing, but there's still some. And it will take some time. Once again, we're running virtual desktop as we normally do, and we've got that running with ASW. The Space Warp, and it's linked up to 80 FPS, so we're showing about 40 here. I did have one little hiccup. Everything was showing great inside of virtual desktop in terms of latency. It was getting the full 80 FPS, and yeah, everything was looking great, but I did have one stutter right before we started rolling. Don't really know what that was all about, but you know, I've got my own dedicated router here. There's not a lot of reason to have stutters out of this game right now, especially in an area like this when you're just sitting on the ground looking. So hopefully everything works out. We'll see. Looks like I'm burning out of the right tank according to that. I'm going to go ahead and pump that fuel into the wings now. Got those two are half filled up. They should have enough time to transfer. All right, transfers are on. And you know what? Let's stay low. Let's stay at 1,500 feet. We're going to be looking at the sun, it seems like, for the majority of this short leg. We could climb up. I'm not going to worry about it. Our next couple of legs that we fly are going to be kind of bouncing around the Keys. So that should be a little bit of fun. It'll be a little bit of a different view. This is going to be the first one. We'll get to the edge, the southern edge of Florida. And after we do that, we are going to hit our first key. So, this location is just south of Miami and is the first of the Florida Keys. So that's going to be our plan. That's going to be what we do, and hopefully everything goes well. We'll see. Miami airspace. Yep. We'd have to be talking to them for transitions. That's a guarantee. Got the power pulled back. We're pretty low. We shouldn't have to lean much, if anything, to make this run nice and smooth. We're obviously, like I said, we're not going to be very high, so as a result, we're not going to have a ton of, time to fly everything over there. We could have easily gone up, but I don't know. I don't really see the need. We're down here over once again, real life, over the Everglades. Guess what? I'd be climbing. I'd be staying close to roads. I'd be making sure that I had a place to land if something was to go wrong, so that I don't get eaten by an alligator. So, all that said, we're not in real life. We're in a video game. We're flying around. Yeah, I mean, there's no great reason that we have to go climbing all the way up to super high altitudes to finish this type of flying today. And the same will be true as we make our way over towards Key West. But it should be a pretty decent little morning for flying. Obviously, we're using live weather again. I was just down in Florida today with work. Not down here. I was up way north of this area. But yeah, Florida was nice today. So this is essentially what the day would have looked like if I had started bright and early in the morning. But I didn't start till the afternoon. It was great. And now I'm back home in the Midwest flying video games because I probably need a hobby. I should do some more woodworking or brew some beer. Both of those are exceptionally fun hobbies. So how far do we have? 39 miles to go. I do really still love getting, still kind of nostalgic looking over and seeing that KLN 90. It has good vibes to it, just kind of cool. All 3 lanes going in the same direction. Oh, one of them just immediately turned around. I love the fact of how they've captured vehicles, and the fact that they have vehicles on the roads moving. It adds so much life to the game. I think there was a mod that incorporates people as well in some of these versions of the game, which, if you see people wandering around the airport who maybe aren't even necessarily workers at the airport, will add a ton of reality to the way the game looks and feels. But once again, there is the fact of you don't really need all of it. It's a flight simulator, and that's kind of what I guess I'm constantly kind of amazed by. All the detail that they've done to make sure that we could fly anywhere in the world, and we could do so VFR. The integration of some of the instrumentation so that we can fly these things properly IFR is huge as well. So, everything said, what's really amazing about all of this is the fact that this is a flight simulator, and the amount of detail that they've captured, the weather details, the fact that I'm going through that little bit of a layer of a cloud right there and you can see it, it has volume. It's stunning. It really is. No, it's really, I've said it before, I know, but had I been a kid with something like this available, well, first off, I wouldn't have been, because my folks would have never bought me the equipment to do this stuff that I'm doing in here. No offense, folks, I love you guys. But despite any love of aviation, there would have been no, hey, here's a VR headset. Hey, here's a stick and a throttle setup that, while it's not super high-end, it's definitely the most high-end equipment I've ever used. This is the most high-end rudder pedals I've ever used, and everything's fantastic. I know we've got online, if I read in the forums, people will complain about WinWing, and I know that their customer service can be I don't want to say questionable, because it's not questionable, it's suboptimal. It's not questionable at all, it's simply not good. So that said, people will kind of, I don't want to say crap or rag on WinWing products, but yeah, their customer support sucks. It comes out of China, and unlike companies that are in Europe, companies that are in the US, companies, even some companies in China, they make a good product. But if you have a problem with it, and there are problems with anything that you buy, they're the ones who are going to be most likely to deny your claim or your warranty. The consumer protection isn't there, and whatever is there, they're not the most keen to love it, or to enforce it. But what I can say is I do love the product. Now, granted, the first HODAS I came from was an X56, which, as you guys all know, I still use. It's my flat screen setup. I still use it exclusively for the space sims. If I'm playing Elite Dangerous, it's my go-to. And like I said, if I'm going to be flying, even in this game, in front of the screen, it's what I'm using. And it does a beautiful job of it. It has its issues. It's got some ghost inputs that show up every once in a while. Sometimes they seem to go away for a very long period of time. Other times they're there immediately and annoy me. But for all intents and purposes, it still works. It's just not nearly, doesn't have the same feel. The metal on this setup feels significantly higher class than that soft, plasticky, rubbery texture that's on the Logitech. But it's still, this is an amazing setup. I've got more buttons than I need in this game. tons of stuff is mapped already, and I could easily map a ton more. And yeah, this is, if I had been a kid with something like this, I don't know, I kind of wonder. I would imagine I would have still gone into aviation, but you can scratch so much of an itch out of it. And I understand why people, there's such a strong community of sim pilots, and I mean, not all of us are flying airplanes for real life, but if you're doing IFR work, you can get dang good flying in something like this. You know, if you're shooting approaches, you can get incredibly precise flying something like this, because those things are all about scams. They're all about reference to your instruments at critical times. Yeah, you're not going to get the motion, but you know, that's life. And we can have arguments about how well a level D simulator really creates motion. I'll be honest with you. I've flown airliners, I've flown business jets all over the place. I've never gotten vertigo in the same way that I was able to induce it in a Skyhawk, you know? And I think part of it's the size of the airplanes, part of it's the speed of the airplanes, part of it's the avionics. But those aircraft are really made to fly hard IFR. And some of the light airplanes, yeah, you get tossed around a little bit, you go into a turn, you get some type of funky visual reference that doesn't quite make sense, and your brain runs with it. And, you know, that is something you can really practice in a place like this, something you can really practice in the sim. And because of the benefits or the improvements that they've made as far as the graphics engine goes, you can really experience, you know, those the rolling clouds, that volumetric efficiency that exists within the clouds that cause that disorientation. You know, you can kind of trick things. You won't be able to fix your inner ear, but your butt's going to know that it's not moving while your eyes are saying that it is. That's a guarantee. You're going to have, you know, if you're looking outside, you're going to see things turning, and you're going to have to stare at your instruments to make sure that you're keeping yourself straight, because you're not going to get sensations from your body. Now, the benefit is you're not going to get false sensations from your body, but yeah, it's still top notch, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Just got another one of those little frame drop stutters. Got a massive tower over there too. Take a look at that bad boy. Things to worry about when you're flying down here way low. "17 miles." You can see the southeastern side of Florida right down there. This is going to be the end of our state. Well, kind of, I guess, because those keys are all part of Florida. But we're going to reach the end of the Florida mainland very soon. 16 miles to the airport. And this one here, like I said, should be... I've never landed here in real life. I do know, at least I'm almost certain, that there were business jets that had a special authorization to go into here, because this was a key destination in the Keys. So there were authorizations, if I'm memory serving right, for business jets and 135 operators to come in and out of here. I don't know if all of the bigger operators had it, you know, the net jets and the flex jets, but I know that for the smaller operators who knew that they had clients who specifically wanted to come here, they had that authorization from the FISTO, so they could go down here and operate. Looks like we've got, it might be Homestead. Let's say the layout doesn't look like Miami. I think Miami's right over there that way. So we won't have a whole lot of altitude to lose today. We'll just go down that extra 500 feet or so, and be right at the pattern. And we'll take a look at the rest of it when we get in. I kind of imagine winds are going to be pretty calm, as they were earlier today. And yeah, this should be nice and easy before we start zipping our way on down into the Keys, down that way, till we get to the southeastern point of the U.S. I am so, like I said, I'm so excited this is almost over, but at the exact same time, I'm really kind of amazed that I actually made it this far. You know, when you start that process off and you're up there in the most northwestern part of the country you could get to, with all of the country in front of you, and knowing that you're going to be doing this in a bunch of small airplanes, you kind of started. I was wondering if I would actually see this all the way through and make my way all the way down here. You know, truthfully, didn't know if I would stick this out. And yeah, it feels good to be here. Nine miles dead ahead. That's going down to 1,000 feet. So we should be looking on that next set of islands out there. Should be where we need to go in order to make our way to our destination. And then we'll be, once again, rolling that direction. Now, finally going back towards the west. Have that beeping at me every time I get to this 1,000 feet above the ground for our radar altimeter. Just like that. Alright. Just under 4 miles. Kind of thinking we're right over there to the left. Guess we're going to see in a second, aren't we? Watch the altitude. Started looking at too much stuff that was not my altimeter. Nope, right there in the middle, it looks like. There's no way that's got to be a road. No, that's a runway. Those are those stupid hangars again, I swear, every time. I was like, it looks like a hotel. It's not a hotel. Alright, we'll plan Land of the West. We'll use 2-3 there. Alright, below gear speed. Gear's coming down. Got 3 green lights. Cowl flaps are open. flaps coming in. Base to final. Power's out. And that is that. Welcome to Ocean Reef. We'll make the left-hand turn, park next to these Skyhawks over here, I guess, and call that a day as we continue our journey further into the Florida Keys. So thank you all for tuning in for that short 15-minute flight. Happy simming, and we'll see you next time.